Hey guys, today we're talking about dividing decimals, so make sure you write that title down. Okay, we are going to divide using the standard algorithm. So, does 5 go into 2? The answer is no, so we place a 0 here and make sure that we keep the decimal point right above where the decimal point goes. So since it didn't go into 2, let's think of this as a 23. 5 goes into 23 4 times. 4 times 5 is 20. Go ahead and subtract, and we get 3. Bring down the 5. So now 5 goes into 35 7 times because 7 times 5 is 35. There's nothing remaining, so our answer is 47 hundredths. Okay, what about this one? 2 goes into 7 3 times, and 3 times 2 is 6. So we subtract and we get 1 and bring down the 3. 2 goes into 13 6 times. 6 times 2 is 12. Subtract, we get a 1. Make sure that we have our decimal point here and then bring down the 5. 2 goes into 15 7 times because 7 times 2 is 14. And we're left over with 1, and then bring down your 9. 2 goes into 19 9 times. 9 times 2 is 18. Subtract and we get 1. Okay, now what do? Well, we can't put it remains 1/2 because we already started with the decimal. So we extend our line and we make a 0. We're not changing the number by putting as many zeros as we want. We're not changing the number at all. So if we place value this 0 here, you're not really adding a 0 because that's nothing, but you're marking it with place value in the thousands place, and then now we can think of it as a 10, and our answer is finished because 5 times 2 gives me 10, and there's nothing left over. So 36 795 thousandths. Okay, dividing decimals by decimals. The first step is to make sure and recognize that there's a decimal in both. I'm going to move the decimal point over behind the 5, and if I do that, I have to move the decimal point over behind the 8. So instead of this as being a 5/10, we can think of it as a 5, and instead of this as being a 6 85 hundredths, we can think of it as a 68 5/10. Okay, rewatch that if you need to. Now we can simply divide. I want you to try to divide this one for me. Make sure you numbered it number 3, and then grab your red pen when you're ready, and I'm going to go over it. Okay, so the first step is to, of course, move the decimal point, which you don't need this decimal here, so it's just 5. And 5 goes into 6 one time. With 1 left over, bring down your 8. 5 goes into 18 3 times, which is 15. We have 3 left. Bring down your 5, but make sure that you also have your decimal point. 5 goes into 35 7 times because 7 times 5 is 35, and we're done. 13 7/10. Okay. Go ahead and try this one for me. Rewrite it, and then move your decimal point. I'll be back in just a second to show you what I did, so grab your red pen. Okay, the first step is to move the decimal point over 1 on each. So we can think of this as 15, and this as 2,805. Okay, so ask yourself, how many times does 15 go into 20 or into 2? 0 times. But it goes into 28 one time. Do we need this 0? No. So 15 goes into 28 one time. 2 minus 1 is 1. 8 minus 5 is 3. 15 goes into 1/3. If you need to guess and check, that's okay. I'm going to start with a 9. 5 times 9 is 45. 9 times 1 is 9, plus 4 is 13. Uh-oh, too much. So I need to erase that. Let's make this into an 18. 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 1 is 1, or excuse me, is 8, plus 4 is 12, so we have 10 left over. That one works. Now think about 105. How many times does 15 go into 105? Well, if it went in 8 times and got 120, subtract 1 and it's 7. So 7 times 5 is 35. 7 times 1 is 7 plus 3 is 10. Nothing left over. So you can guess and check. So if I'm looking at this, whoops, that's supposed to be a 7. This gives me the same answer as this. So 187. Last one. Go ahead and try it. I'll be back in just a second to show you what I did. Okay, your first step was to rewrite the problem. Your second step is to move the decimal point. Moves over 1 for each of these, so 14 and 2,878 and 6/10 is my new way of doing this. So 14 goes into 20, or into 2 0 times. We don't need it. But 14 goes into 28 2 times. 2 times 14 is 28. Perfect. Bring it down. Does 14 go into 7? No. Bring it down. Does 14 go into 78? Yes. It goes in, let's think about this, about 5 times, I believe. So 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 2 is 7. So 8 left over. Keep your decimal point in the right spot. Bring down your 6. 14 goes into 86. Let's guess and check if you can't remember. I think it's about 6. Let's see. Because that would be 14 more with the 7. So that's 84. Because 6 times 4 is 24. 6 times 1 is 6. Plus 2 is 84. We've got 2 left over. Bring down my 0. 14 goes into 21 time. Oop, I might have to extend my page. Okay, so that would be 6. So 60 if we keep bringing a 0 down. Now this is going to keep going and going and going. So we can, at times, the directions might tell you to round to the nearest hundredth. So at 60, 14 goes in 4 times. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 1 plus 1 is 50, so we have a 4 here. How many times does 14 go into 40? Goes in twice. So we can stop there because the 2 tells the 4 to stay the same. And this would be our answer. Don't worry, on the test it won't get that complex. And that's all I have for you today. I'll see you next time.